Today, we have two very special guests on our podcast. We'll be joined by Raven Trammell and Alex Hutchi, who are the co founders of 50 Millimeter Collective. 50 Millimeter Collective is pioneering the use of AI, AR, and VR to create immersive experiences and empower creative entrepreneurs and founders. And this is a great episode. They'll be talking about how to find a co founder and build a partnership that works, the importance of resilience and curiosity when finding your purpose. They'll also be sharing on the importance of chasing your dreams instead of just letting them fall by the wayside, and how, as a creative entrepreneur, you can utilize Web3, blockchain, and other immersive technologies to help get your business off the ground. So you don't want to miss this episode. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Raven, 50 Millimeter. I'm the founder of the 50 Millimeter Collective, and this journey started. I entered into the Web3 space as a photographer, and have kind of just been figuring things out for the past 3.5 years now. And it's been an incredible experience of just kind of like learning lessons and meeting incredible people along the way, like Hutch. So I'll pass it to you now, Hutch.
Hey, thanks. My name is Alex Hutchi. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I've been creating things in the blockchain space, but originally I started off as an artist, as a menswear designer, and doing fast and film photography. And I'm the co-founder of 50 Millimeter Collective. So Raven and I combined our forces together to start building things for the creator economy, as well as really just starting to look at kind of like this future of like using AI as an artist and being able to build communities online. So I focus more on like managing influencers and developing their talent, and then also creating web applications under 50 Millimeter Collective as part of our tech products that we offer. And yeah, so far it's been an interesting start to the year. We're really looking forward to launching a few of our programs and really diving into working with more creators, creative entrepreneurs firsthand.
Wow, I love that. That sounds so exciting. And before we go any further, Alex, I just want to hear a little bit more about how you got here, because some of the stuff you just said, blockchain and designer, like how did that all come together for you? I think a lot of people are in this space where they want to launch their own business. They want to get out of the 9-to-5 grind, and they don't know how. And those sound like some very different things. So how'd you put that all together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it really kicked off for me getting on Twitter very early, around like 2000, like early 2000s. And at the time, Twitter was mostly for like writers and publishers to like be on there networking. But eventually I started finding people who were more in like the developer space. So like building their own products, meeting one another at meetups, and really got interested in that world of like, you know, what's a marketing funnel? What's a podcast? What's like, you know, well, how are people building things on their own and not having like, their own 9-to-5 to build these things? And so that really started kind of like my curiosity of like entrepreneurship. And eventually I started to just really start to teach myself things. So whether it was picking up a course on Udemy, or it was starting my own podcast to interview people that I was meeting along the way, it was really just the getting started with having a question or an observation and just going out and meeting people. And I think that was kind of like just the start of everything that I started to do outside of work, and eventually started to meet other people interested in the same things and start to get more experience.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like you did a lot of things for a long time and just kind of explored and had some curiosity, and that's how you got there.
Yeah, I think the journey of entrepreneurship, or just even starting something, is really, you're going to get started. I got started and I learned a little bit at a time. And it's really when you get started that maybe third or maybe fifth or seventh time that you finally have like all the pieces of the puzzle that you can bring to a team, or just start to put online and put yourself out there. But it's really just a journey about being patient with yourself, but also just being like open to just putting your ideas out there and seeing where they land and getting feedback and quickly pivoting and just not taking it too personal along the way, because you're always going to have ideas, because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast are idea people. But it's like, which idea is going to be the one that really launches you into the direction that you feel satisfied?
Yeah. Yeah. And Raven, feel free to jump in if you want to tag on at any point during the conversation. But I love what you're saying here about trying things like multiple times, I love that you said the 5th or the 7th time, and let's come back to that. But before we do, I want to hear more about 50 millimeter. Like, who's a creative entrepreneur? Who can use your services? Like, who do you serve really?
I'll jump into that. That's a really great question. We are serving creative entrepreneurs, founders, people who are, creating innovative things and are wanting to share what they're building and are looking for encouragement and accountability on how to share those stories and get people, involved in the journey of building what they're building. And so we work with creators, who are on chain and in the traditional sense of on traditional social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, those kinds of things. But also leaning into creators who are on chain within Web3 and on blockchain as well.
Okay. So when you say on chain and Web3, for listeners that may not know what that means, can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So on chain is referring to putting things on the blockchain. And so right now, what's happening within, global economy, but also creator economy is we're shifting from like a focus of online to on chain. And so, for example, in a similar parallel, like Web3 is the on-chain version of Web2. Web2 is like traditional social media platforms like, Instagram and things like that. Web3, on the other hand, are marketplaces like Zora and OpenSea Foundation, things like that, where you can put your content on the blockchain and people can support you directly rather than going through third parties or things like that. And a most recent example that I can think of is Warpcast and Farcaster. Warpcast is a decentralized social media platform that's like social media. It's like, think of Twitter meets Reddit, and it's built on crypto rails. So as you post, or a post is like a tweet, as you post like that, and as people resonate with what you're sharing, they can tip you in cryptocurrencies. And so, for example, for the past couple of months, I've been actively on Warpcast and earning crypto for my ideas, the things that I'm sharing, and just as we're building 50 millimeter collective and sharing things on Warpcast as well. So it's pretty cool. It's really cool, like where things are headed, and yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So I feel like this is a really big topic for entrepreneurs now. You hear all this stuff about crypto and AI and blockchain and like technology changing. So why do you think this is so important for people to be aware of? Like, why is blockchain important, and why should people be thinking about that in terms of their business?
Yeah. I could start with that. I think these are all tools. These are tools to make ideas that have always existed amongst communities now finally have a lower barrier to get them out into the world. And I think that's really important because for the example that we just talked about with like Warpcast and blockchain, if you think of it something as like really simple as like, what if Johnny Appleseed had his own small community that he was able to give everybody 10 of his apple seeds and tell them to go out and plant them. And I think it comes down to that everyone has like a community of people that they know that will resonate with their ideas, but it's how do you start to share them and have resources share amongst them. And that's kind of what on-chain technology kind of brings for creators, is that now anyone can kind of get online, build a social, like, personal brand, and be able to monetize that by either starting a product, starting a thought group, or even offering services. And what makes that really interesting now is that you have tools where traditionally it would probably take you like a team of people, or maybe you would have to really hunt to find like all the resources to get it done. But now you can kind of spend a weekend to spin up an idea and get it out there. So it allows a lot of people to rapidly test ideas, which is great for somebody who has ideas. But also too, it's like, how do you get out of that scarcity mindset of that, oh, because this person's doing it, there's no way that my idea will flourish and be successful. But it's really about right now understanding how to use these tools in their very infancy stage. They're going to turn and mature into new ways of being able to create teams, or be able to make products, or connect with people, or ways that we will be able to disperse information. So I think it all comes down to just, it is intimidating. It is a lot of new information, but being able to just have a grasp of like, how could this help something in your domain of your knowledge, so that as it grows, or as people start to cross-pollinate like different ideas or start to do things, it's really about, right now it's just a time for builders. It's a time for people who are great at bringing people together to discuss these ideas and to humanize them. And I think that's what makes a lot of, opportunity right now for entrepreneurs to tell their story.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I love what you said about being able to quickly test out an idea, because I think a lot of times people want to start a business, but they aren't exactly sure if it's going to work or if they're really committed to the idea. So being able to kind of quickly launch something and quickly fail and move on to the next one, I think is so valuable. So
yeah. The book that really inspired me actually was Noah Kagan's book. I think it's like $1 million Business in a Weekend. It came from a podcast he was on with Tim Ferriss, and then he later turned that into a book. And of course, like, that title can be kind of off-putting if like $1 million isn't your goal. But I do think that you can learn a lot from his thought process. And I think that's the thing, that despite all the information that's out there, a classroom is still going to be a valid thing, because it helps structure what order to stack this information. And I think that's like probably the coolest thing about being on chain right now, or being out on the internet as a creator, is that I'm able to talk about parts of things that I know, but then I may come across somebody who will help me put it in order, as far as like, learn this first, or read this book first, or check out this podcast, and then come back and like do what you're doing. And I think that's just an incredible time right now to like create ideas, or build companies, or find a co-founder in like this time and age.
yeah, that's so important. So, okay, talking about co-founders, let's segue into how you guys met, and, tell me a little bit more about how you met, how you decided to work together, and how it's going.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that one. So Hutch and I originally met in Miami at Art Basel. Was that 2022? Art Basel 2022?
Yeah, we did meet in Art Basel, and then later we met in New York. Wow.
Oh wait, maybe was it first New York at NFT NYC that year, and then
and then we were kind of in orbit for like a minute, but you had an event that I went to that you were co-hosting with, and that's kind of when I like saw like your art projected and like the vibe of everybody. But it's like, yeah, we have been like going to a lot of events until we finally met. Yeah, and still afterwards it took us a while to finally like reconnect after that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah,
That's facts. So yeah, the original meeting was like at a couple of different events. First New York, then Miami, and then I feel like I just was noticing we were working on similar things, and just wanting to work smarter, not harder, and also like just connecting on things outside of building and working on things, you know, like our spirituality and just like, you know, we're both from the Midwest, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was just like, we've been, you know, really head down this past year working on 50 millimeter collective. And it has been, I feel like we're the dream team. Like I'm always sending you like emojis of Kobe and Shaq and you know what I mean? Or not emojis, gifs of Kobe and Shaq and stuff. And I really feel like, yeah, me and Hutch, we're the dream team. It's great. It's been great working with you.
Yeah, it's been really an incredible experience finding a co-founder. And I think if anybody's looking for just a team of like-minded people or just in general, like go to the events, go to events that either local or save up and travel and go to events. It's really an incredible feeling being in a room with people who just like get it. And of course, like online is a great accessible way. You know, I know people have their opinions of like sending cold messages, or you've been on the receiving side of getting a cold message. But really taking the time to personalize that and be genuine about that connection can really like spark into like a friendship that can really help you professionally and personally. And I think that's, just, I'm so thankful, like, you know, being at the right place at the right time, meeting Raven, has really turned into just a really great experience of us organically building products, observing the market, meeting clients that we potentially can help with helping their personal brand and content creation. And it's really just an exciting time to like build a community of people that not only do we want to help, but also surround ourselves with as things continue to grow and change.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's like such a fun story. So how did you go about having the conversation like, hey, let's do a company together? Or was it really just kind of like you just started it and it became a thing? Like, how did that go for you?
Yeah.
Well, originally, I had started 50 millimeter collective in 2021 when I had after like being in the Web3 space for about a year or so. And again, just like trying to connect with like-minded folks and build community. And it just started as a Twitter account. It was just like, you know, let's just see who's out there. Because especially like during that time, Web3 and things that were happening on chain, it wasn't very diverse. And so just trying to put out the bat signal to find other diverse creatives. And so, yeah, it really just started as a Twitter account and then gradually evolved to like fill needs within the space. Like we started curating the virtual art galleries because that was a need that was in the space to where more artists needed to, it was like the same group of artists who were being curated into shows. It's like, okay, well, how can we leverage our metaverse gallery that we have and curate different folks into shows? And so just allowing it to evolve organically and it's just like just a lot, just letting it kind of flourish in its own way within this space. But then, you know, when me and Hutch started working together, Hutch came in and added a lot of organization and structure and those essential things. I felt like I was just kind of like, oh, all these cool ideas, and you know what I mean, and having a lot of fun with building those. And so, it's a yin and yang game. And so I'm just super grateful that, you know, now we're working together and like Hutch said, we have a lot of things in the pipeline in terms of products and things like that. But curious to hear your side of things, Hutch.
Yeah, no, 2021, I was deep in like esports and gaming. And really that's kind of when my start of experiencing media production and content creation on like a real like business professional scale. And so I love Notion. I think that's a great tool to really customize and build sort of what your workflow looks like. So meeting Raven, hearing his ideas, I was just like, we got to project manage into this. We got to, you know, really stack what's going to be a priority. And I think the biggest thing in learning how to collaborate is learning how to delegate things. And I think that is something that can be taught, but also just organically kind of figuring out like what are Raven's strengths and how can we balance kind of like our week to have like check-ins and deep focus. So we're not constantly like, disrupting each other's flow state. And I think that's really great to meet good people who are good at what they do and let them do it. And to just build that trust over time. And so, when we first got started, like we started small. We had like, short sprints of like 2 weeks, or maybe on the weekend we would hit up each other and be like, hey, let's build this. Let's like, get this done, and really treat it like a real thing. And I think that's the most important thing. It's like, if you're getting started, you got to treat yourself and your friends seriously. If you don't start there, it's like the world won't see that. And I think eventually it just got to the point where we're really starting to see like, we both love being in emerging tech spaces, diversity and inclusion, and really being able to be great storytellers. And a lot of people that we realized were coming to us, whether for me it was with gaming or project management, a lot of people were just asking me to like listen to their ideas and help them get it out into the world. And so Raven already having 50 millimeter collective going and hosting events and bringing community together. I was really able to see that firsthand. And I think that was a real important experience of like being at one of his events that he was a part of hosting. I was able to see the world, see sort of the people he was bringing together, where his ideas wanted to travel. And I think that, having a team or having just somebody you can trust with sharing your vision with to hold you accountable to get it out there. I think that's just like a really important step and a milestone in any founder's journey is, how to take what's in your head and put it out into the world and organize it so that it gets done. Because ideas are great, yet, ideas, everybody's got one, but it's really the execution that is the thing that people want around. Like people want to be around other people who get stuff done. And so really learning that from working in media and having my own like businesses prior, it's really just about making quick decisions and finding good people to help get that out there and just taking it as like another lesson that you're learning, but learning how to be objective about it, really take the time to research and plan things and, work with the resources that you have and just no comparison. Like, you will get to where you're going. You will meet the right people. You will pivot, in and out of jobs or roles or different company ideas until you finally get to a point where it is just what you're known for doing. And I think that's just been like a really great organic experience that Raven and I have. And yeah, I definitely look up to some of the past roles that I was in and some of the founders that I did work with prior to really see how kind of their partnership really mattered in creating that work environment.
I love that message. That is like so empowering for people to just, execute the ideas, get really clear on what you want out of a co-founder. And I think what I heard you say is having those complementary skill sets has been really valuable. And then also that you didn't just like jump into it one day and say, hey, we're like business partners for life here, that you kind of let it organically grow and kind of worked with each other a little bit and then saw that it was working really well. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I think setting manageable milestones is important. And sometimes just giving you and the person you're working with or your co-founder, like just an imaginary goalpost to like have a finish line. I think it's just all about when Raven and I started working, it was just like us, it was just moving the goalpost further and further out until we got comfortable managing like our emotions into it or being able to give each other directions on things or getting constructive feedback on things. And it's like, what started as a weekend project, what started as a month project, then turned into now we're working like, on ideas 3-6 months, years plus out. But really just started with building that trust, knowing that, we could rely on each other to get things done or hold each other accountable to get things done. And I think that's a really important thing about just, let's just say, sometimes you grow and sometimes your business grows. And I think that's just like a really important thing to understand when you're an entrepreneur, a founder. It's that there are going to be times of like, you're going to be doing the growing, you and your team are going to be growing, and then the business is going to grow and all the systems and all the planning you did is going to pay off. And that's when you know it's working. It's when things are fast paced and they're not breaking, that's when you know you the right amount of time and research to like get it off and going.
Yeah.
And I also, I wanted to add to what Hutch was saying is like, I feel like we work so well together. Like this partnership is going so greatly because of the respect that we have for each other, but also, how communicative we are with each other. Like as we have ideas come, like we are in constant communication, whether it be, texting each other or, hey, can we hop on a call real quick, just check in, and really trusting that, I feel like that communication, that constant communication has, for me at least, has built a lot of that trust within, our partnership.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like communication is such an important thing in any relationship, whether it's like friends or business partners or whatever, family, everything. It's like if you get the communication down, it's like you've won half the battle. So I'd like to segue a little bit here. I love what you were talking about, Alex, about scaling and growing, and things are changing. And I just want to ask both of you, how have you managed your like mental health, avoided burnout? So, because that's what I do in the 9 to 5 Rebel community and with my coaching clients is I help them, cure the burnout and then help them get the foundations they need to build their business. So how have you guys avoided that, or have you dealt with that at all? I would love to hear your experience here.
Wow. Yeah. I am. Avoiding burnout. It's definitely there. It could creep up on you. I think really being like, I should say, if you're feeling stuck with like burnout and managing it, I think the first thing to do is kind of audit your time, see where you're spending your time, get honest with yourself on the things you enjoy doing and things that you probably could have someone else do or try to minimize. And for me, it looks like curbside pickup for groceries. I think grocery stores are very overstimulating. I oftentimes do not have time. And just that little switch and just picking up my groceries from the curbside has done wonders for just my decision fatigue. And I think that is just like how burnout creeps up on you. It's making too many decisions and having too many stakes. And so I think that with Raven and I, we have a lot of great communication and also great planning where we kind of space out some of our high stake planning. And I think that is very critical to not make too many big decisions back to back. It feels it's a lot. It can be a lot. But really focusing on like, just understanding like time blocks. It's like, typically we will start our days kind of like in the evening. We'll have weekends. Every other weekend might be a sprint where we're trying to get stuff done. But we always make sure to communicate like intentional rest days that we're taking or just time away from the computer because it's the summer right now. But I think it's just always good to communicate. If you're working through something, just say that. If you don't have ideas or you don't have much to say or you got a lot to talk about, it's always nice having someone to hold that space for you. And I think that's just like a really special thing that him and I have where it's like, I can count on him to like push me when I need it and also remind me to slow down when I need that reminder too. And I think that's just like, that's really great to have someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Raven, any thoughts here?
Yeah. I've definitely experienced burnout quite a bit actually last year, which that led me to having to try some new things. And Hutch has been, man, this podcast, so many gems Hutch has been dropping. For me personally, within dealing with my mental wellness, that's a very big thing for me. I would say this past year, I had to learn to do capacity checks. And so as a founder and creative entrepreneur, you can wear a lot of hats and you're very capable of doing a lot of different tasks. But just because you're capable doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. And to check within yourself, do I have the capacity for this? Okay. And be honest. No, I don't. And being able to delegate. And so this learning how to delegate different tasks when you're at max capacity. But again, having a teammate, having a co-founder to where I can, be honest about that conversation and be like, hey, I'm at capacity. How can we, restructure this a little bit and things like that. And yeah, I think that's been the biggest takeaway, that and building out a spiritual practice of like grounding, prayer, meditation, and really starting the day with that, because before I would just jump on the computer and coffee and let's go. And you're in front of the computer for 12 plus hours and quickly realize that is a fast track to burnout. And so trying to find that harmony. Yeah.
Yeah. I know productivity is sometimes just can have a lot of resistance in how it should show up in your life. But I think that the biggest thing that I've learned about working with people and being on a team is just allowing people to be human. That despite the deadlines and productivity, like as a leader, it's managing the human aspect. Like people are going to get tired, ideas are going to be stuck, things are going to get done maybe faster, sooner than anticipated. But it's like, as a leader, it's like planning like the element of being human. Like things come up, and I think that's just been a really great thing that Raven and I really started to develop at 50 millimeter as a company culture, is like really allowing the aspect of being human, being productive, pushing ourselves to get things done creatively, but also having times to reflect and have it solo and have that reflection together has really allowed us to get through some of the more challenging times, but also allow us to feel refreshed that there's more opportunity to still keep going at things and keep discovering and keep meeting people.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. These are such important things. And I'm just going to recap a little bit here. I loved what you said about capacity checks. I love that framing. That's so important because, people they try to fit everything into their schedule. And then it's like you said, Alex, everyone's human. We have human times. And a lot of times I think it's not even just the capacity and saying, I can't do this, but people feel guilty, right? Like people get in this like guilt cycle around, oh, I didn't show up the way I wanted, or I couldn't make that happen, or this is late. So have you guys ever dealt with that? And how have you moved past that guilt?
Yeah, that happens. I mean, it's like basketball. The ball's always spinning and sometimes it gets dropped. But I think it's really just not taking those, not like, you can make mistakes, but you are not your mistakes. Like they're not you. It's a part of the process of setting the bar high and being ambitious. Like that comes with the territory, that not everything will get done. Not everything might come off as exactly how you want it and planned it to. But it's the journey of releasing that control and humbling yourself and not having ego about, I should say, I take full ownership for things that I do not do. Or, sometimes I'm overambitious and set a goal that I'm like, that probably could have been chunked down a little smaller. But it's like, seeing Raven as a co-founder and at times also the teacher and the coach and the it's just like knowing that he's also wearing multiple hats with working with me as well. It's like, I don't take it too personal. I think there's always that when someone you're working with, like they're going to be wearing different roles, different hats to like coach you through things. But it's not taking it personal. Like some of my ideas don't always land and it's totally fine. There may be things that I wanted to have gotten done, but don't get them done. And it's like just having honest conversations about how can we both show up as ourselves. I think that's been just something that having that constant reminder is important, to know that it's okay and not take it too hard, but to really plan better to have better outcomes and track the things that mean the most to show that things are changing and progressing. And I think everybody has to come up with their own yardstick and not compare it to someone else's. because you don't know what someone else's team structure or resources they may have. So I think that's really important when managing the guilt. It's really managing like, well, how am I measuring this success? How can I better communicate where I do have my shortcomings, but where I feel that I'm open to being coaching, or just something that I'm like, okay, I'm just not good at that. And like, that's okay too. Like it's okay. It's okay to just be bad at something and to let someone else do it. And that's that.
Right.
Just budget that in. That needs to get done that way.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I think that's an important lesson for entrepreneurs and for people starting out, and just not taking all that inside, letting it go, letting things change, like being flexible. What else would you tell new creative entrepreneurs that are looking to launch, to start their side hustle, that are curious about, how they can do it with blockchain? Like, what are some of the things you would tell them starting out?
I personally would say, just go for it, homie. Like, just take that leap of faith and, get around people who are going to encourage you on your journey. Like, I think, the creative entrepreneur route can be lonely, but if you do find your tribe, it makes it so much better and easier to navigate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, true words. Yeah, just go for it. Don't let the internet rush you. I think that's just something I've always have talked about a lot. And document things in the beginning when you're getting started for yourself, even if it doesn't have many views or no one likes it or shares it. Just document it for yourself so you can look back a year from now and see what your year zero looked like that first year that you got started and you threw everything on the wall to try to make something stick. Document it for yourself, because that's going to be where you find your gems of things that worked and things that can be shared to other people, where there are so many lessons that I know now that I wish I knew when I got started. But one of the things that I would share to anyone getting started is document it for yourself. If you can't go to the events that are around, use the internet, lean into it, like make several Reddit accounts and join, different forums and talk about questions that you have. Like, make a separate social media account if you have to, if you feel like you just don't want to be seen right now. But that is a part of the journey. It's getting comfortable with being seen, people seeing you trying. And I think that is the best thing that you can do right now getting started to build that trust when you do make it. It's that people see that, yeah, you were always that person who didn't give up and always tried to figure it out and met new people and changed everything that you could to authentically align with like where you want your business and life to be. So I think that's, just getting started. There's never going to be a right time. Just get started and you'll figure it out, and you'll be guided to where it needs to be, like probably sooner than you think. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. But you're right. There is no perfect time, and we only live once, right? So I always tell people you might as well chase your dreams, because otherwise you're just going to regret it. So
I wanted to share a quote that really stuck with me that I heard from the one of the founders of Essence magazine, Caroline Wagner. She had said that the dream that you have within you, only you can bring that to fruition. And so if you don't act on that, then the world will go without it. And so thinking about it from that perspective, if like you don't produce whatever that idea that keeps on like happen at you, if you don't bring that to fruition, then nobody's going to be able to experience that. And that whenever it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, like going back to that quote is a big motivator. So I just wanted to share that.
yeah, I appreciate that. That's such a good one. And I feel like, especially, maybe not especially, but in the space where you're talking about creatives, I think a lot of times people are afraid to put their work out there, and they're worried about the judgment, or not sure that people are going to like it. how would you tell them to move past that? Like, how do people, I know just start, but like beyond that?
Yeah. Honestly, your future self will be the one to tell you that that was a good or bad idea. That there's no amount of people who just know. And no matter how many coaches and advisors and books you read, there's not a book on the shelf that tells you, hey, this is your life and this is how it's going to turn out. You have to write that story. And so the saying of just get started, you have to get started writing that book in your chapter. And then you look back and you see, oh my gosh, everything I did was a mistake, yet here I am now to tell you that I did it and I made it. And those are the stories that, Disney writes movie after movie about the underdog, about the one that was so unique that nobody thought they could make it. But it's like, that's the part that people want to follow the most. And so it's kind of a paradox of being a creator. Yes, everybody has the internet and a phone in their hand, but it's hard to put yourself out there. So the more that you do it, the more that you realize and you connect with other creators that also have made that journey too. And same with starting a business. It's like the world for me completely changed when my ideas started putting food on the table. That was just a whole new experience unlocked, and nothing in my life before that ever prepared me for that. It was just simply the act of making a decision that I want to change my life. I want to do something different. And content creation at the time was the way to go. And I loved gaming, and that connected me with a lot of people. And it's just been a chain reaction ever since. And so I think I should say you won't know until you live a little, and then you can look back and tell some stories. And yeah, it just keeps going.
Amazing. So if you could do anything different on this journey with building 50 millimeter, what would it be?
Not a doggone thing. It would all be the exact same because that's how God intended it. And I'm really just like building out all of this is just trusting in this process. And so I really feel like we've been doing it. Like I really am very happy with how we've been building and how intentional. That's a big thing, is like when you're building intentionally, that takes more time and energy and effort. And so yeah, I really don't think I would change anything. What about you, Hutch?
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything with the progression of how 50 millimeter collective came together. Outside of that, what I would focus on, pick up a book about financial literacy, like rewire your money mindset. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's like we all have our experiences with money, and there's something about when you put an idea in the world, you really have to detach yourself from like the real existing material world, because you're pulling something from the unknown, and that is very infinite and can be intimidating and scary, because it's like, where can our ideas take us? Like that is something where it's like, there's no telling, there's no clue. But I think just kind of really focusing on your mindset and, having positive self-talk, even when things are hard, like not tearing yourself down. I think that's just probably the first thing that I really had to work on, was just like making mistakes and not tearing myself down because of it. And I think I started to develop a better, healthier relationship with taking risks and making decisions. And eventually it gets to the point where you start to trust yourself more and more. So for anyone getting started, like, it's really going to come down to how much do you trust yourself and your vision? And the more that you keep acting on it and doing it, you strengthen that muscle. And that's just something that no amount of, so you can't just like sit around and hope that it comes to you. You have to go work out every day to like strengthen that muscle of trusting yourself and meeting people and all these things that come with like just having a lifestyle business, or, taking the opportunity of building something online. And I think that's just it's an amazing journey to pick in life, that but it's like the grass is green wherever you water it. Like there is no like taking a job is easier or working for yourself is easier. It all has hard things. Like pick your hard thing and go do it.
Yes. I love that, man. You are full of gems today. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. So I do have one more kind of weird question. Where did the name 50 millimeter come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. 50 millimeter came from so on social media, I'm Raven 50 millimeter on Instagram and things like that. And that I got that handle like way back in when Instagram first started, what, 2012, 2013? I don't know. But it's some people think it's like only about photography or videography and things like that, but it's more about having a grander vision. Like if you are a photographer, you know that when you get that nifty 50 Canon lens, the 50 millimeter prime 1.8 lens, when you put that on your camera, it changes things. Like it changes your perspective. It changes how you see the world. And that in that moment was where it clicked for me. It was like, I could do this for a living. Like I could, it just changed my perspective on entering a creative entrepreneur journey. And so, yeah, that's where it started from, is just like having that perspective shift of going from, I just like to take pictures, I'm kind of, to like really believing like, all right, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to go for it. And yeah, that's how I started.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. I love that idea of the bigger vision. So talking about vision, what's next for 50 millimeter collective?
Yeah. So right now we're focusing on helping people build their personal brands and get their stories out there. We have a course that's going to be launching soon. So anyone can be able to sit down over a weekend and be able to have some clarity with how they want to start their brands, start editing, start figuring out some of these tools that are out there. And we've got a lot of things in store, but we really like to stack our goals and run across the finish line as we go. But I think the thing we're really focused on right now is just connection, like connecting with other like-minded people, bringing community. I started hosting dinner parties as well to start building connections on and offline. But yeah, I think, the world now is being online for so many years, these past couple of years. It's really just about getting out, touching grass, going to the events, meeting people. So yeah, that's kind of like where we're kind of at right now. And Raven's got a few more things he can share about where we're at.
Yeah, with where we're heading, we really want to help take the guesswork out of content creation. We've realized, in me on my own journey too, is like when you are a multifaceted creator, it's hard to figure out what to talk about. What do I make my content on? Who wants to X, Y, all these questions, right? And so we're working on fostering a community and building this course to where it takes that guesswork out. And because when that guesswork is removed, it builds your confidence to be on camera, to be in front of people, sharing your story and sharing why you're working on what you're working on. Being in the crypto space, there's a lot of amazing products being created. And I think sometimes we can kind of get in our little bubble of, the same people doing or the same people like sharing feedback with each other and wanting to expand that reach more. And storytelling is how we do that. And so, yeah, helping, creators, creative entrepreneurs boost their confidence so that we can get your story out there and help sharing it and eliminating that guesswork of like, what are we talking about? What should I share? How should I share it? That kind of thing.
Yes, I love that. So when is the course launching? Do we have a date?
The course should be out in August, and we'll probably be talking more about it on LinkedIn Live. So you can find us both on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm currently based out in Seattle, so I'm more than happy to have coffee with anyone. And yeah, it's gonna be a great way for us to start developing community online, but we really want to start being able to travel, get out there, meet people in person. So yeah, we're excited to kick this off online and start meeting people again.
Awesome. So if people want to schedule a coffee with either of you or find out more about the course, if you can share where they can find you online.
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn as Alex_Hutchi or Alex Hutchi. And you can find Raven as well on LinkedIn and a couple other places.
Yep, I'm also over there on LinkedIn, Raven Trammell. Trammell is my last name. And also social media, Raven 50mm across social media. I am currently based in the Midwest, but will be in Los Angeles for anyone who's out there at the beginning of August. And so, like Hutch said, looking to continue to connect and build out this community.
That's amazing. Well, thank you both so much for your time and for all the inspiration and for all these gems for new entrepreneurs, creatives, people that are looking to build a personal brand. I think this is going to be so helpful. So again, thank you both so much, and I look forward to seeing the course come out.